stuff.
Independently, we write basically a complete piece of music, and then the other person remixes it. Kinda.
Yeah.
Or we do that for a couple, and then we work deliberately together on a couple. If we can end up with 5 finished tracks, that's great. Whatever we have is getting released. So like,
Oh God, sweet Jesus!
If it's good, that's
sweet merciful Christ.
If it's good, that's a bonus.
I mean,
but it doesn't really matter if it's good.
You can't really go into this with sort of like preconceived notions that it will be good. It might be shit.
Speed on this camera, just get.
Is the microphone on that one as well?
The light's on.
That's a good sign.
It's all set.
Rolling.
Sync clap.
The idea behind the One Weekend EP project is that myself and my regular collaborator, Si, will basically have a single weekend to write, record, edit, mix, and release a 5-track EP. So whatever we have, whether we like it, whether we hate it, whether it's 2 tracks, 5 tracks, 20 tracks, whatever we have is going to get released on Monday. So ideally it's something good, but if it's not, we're going to release it anyway.
When Liam first suggested it, I was quite apprehensive. I was like, really? I'm going to do this thing? Okay, fine. I feel like the average time it takes someone like me, if I'm just on my Todd doing my thing to make an EP, would take at least a month of just solid work. Why do I work with Liam?
I'd quite like to use like as many live instruments as we can. Like obviously the stuff that you write in MIDI is great and we can make the most of that. But then you're also a good guitarist and bassist. Like I've got a couple piano things that have been floating in my head we could use, but like they're quite short, so again they don't have to be like an entire song, they could just be like a section or something. Also I'm up for just recording dumb noises, like if it keeps raining. Nailed it. That's nice.
Yeah, it's just like switching from major to minor sevenths. That's about as jazzy as I've managed to get in like the interim between you leaving, telling me to relearn how to play piano, and you coming back.
I'd say that's a rousing success. Can you go up to the 5? Play a dominant 7 on the 5?
Where's the dominant 7?
So, just play a regular triad. So what chord is it?
What?
That was it. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
This is the most enthused I've ever seen you about anything. I like that. It's kind of just like unassuming and in the background. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Just, I like that. Keep that.
in general, the music I listen to and the music I'm inspired by it's a huge variety of stuff. But specific to this project, it's a lot of experimental hip hop, a lot of weird electronic stuff. Tim Exile, Dan Lasac, Jay Dilla, Thundercat, anything like that. Anything weird with maybe a little bit of jazz in there.
Musical influences, as far as bands go, would be stuff like Radiohead, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. On the electronic side, kind of randomly stumbled across Ben Jordan, also known as the Flashbulb, who got me into IDM, and subsequently discovered stuff like Aphex Twin, Square Pusher. He's doing it, giving it the business.
The business.
Give him the business.
I think putting a really short time frame on any kind of creative process can really streamline the way you think, and it can make you make decisions much more instinctively, and you kind of rely on the skill set that you've developed over the years of making whatever it is you make.
So practically, a time constraint like this, on one hand, means that you have a clear goal in mind, and you know how much time you need. Whereas, like, if you're just making music for the sake of making music and don't really have any kind of goal in mind, it's just like, oh, okay, I'll just finish this whenever. Whereas having that deadline is just like, right, I've got to get this, and this done by this time, which is strangely motivational. On the other hand, again, it's just like another load of unnecessary stress on top of what you're already trying to do, which is just make a thing.
I really like working with Si because his writing process is so different. We tend to focus on different things when we're writing. I've seen him spend hours listening to the same drum loop or the same bass line just on repeat, trying to get it perfect. Si's got a really interesting way of putting chords together. He does a lot of movements that just don't occur that often, so he'll always come up with something super unique sounding. Also, his melodies are weird. That's always really fun working with Si. He comes out with bizarre melodies.
I like working with Liam. We can work together, and I think that's the reason we do work together, because we just can, and that's rare, I think. Because we have such disparate styles of composition and just workflow, when we're using different software packages even, it's more of a case of, let's see what you do that I probably should do but don't. But I feel like because we're approaching things from different perspectives, it's always interesting. It's never boring.
So in terms of album art, there's Chuffing Loads. That's a similar idea. I think that's the Chaos pad.
Yeah. Oh, that one's nice.
That's quite nice, isn't it?
I like that, because
Not that we've used Chaos pad at any point, but like, doesn't matter. We could use that, or we could use that.
I quite like that one now, actually. That's probably a better representation of maybe the overall sound.
The next thing is the release info. Would you believe the Musical Endeavour as a band name is not taken? You can't have the Liam Taylor and Si Pettit Musical Endeavour.
Because it's too long.
Because it has two people's names in it.
Really?
And that's apparently a no-no.
Okay.
So, the Musical Endeavour?
Just the Musical Endeavour?
Yeah. Because I quite like the idea of, if we independently did the Liam Taylor Musical Endeavour or the Si Pettit Musical Endeavour, there'd kind of be like this weird family tree of musical endeavours.
The more you say it, the less meaning it has. But
that's
fuck it.
Kind of what I like about it. There's something that fades in at the end, which is me intentionally ruining it, because it's a really nice sequence. So I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I put a crap load of distortion on it and kind of ruined it? So there's a plugin there called the Ruiner.
Oh, I quite like that. The disparity,
right? It's sort of jarring, but in like a really satisfying way.
Yeah, like it's like breaking it down and rebuilding it. It resolves itself properly, almost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's my attempt to put the thing into words.
No, that's good, because I wasn't sure if I was going in the right direction at all. But I was kind of like deliberately trying to subvert what you did.
Yeah. No, I like that. You should listen to this in a minute.
So the space we're recording in this weekend is my home studio, which is full of guitars, toys, interfaces, computers, which I've kind of gradually accrued over the last 15 years of making music. One of the things I really love about Cambridge is the arts community. There's some really supportive groups and organisations out there, and just a really cool variety of creative people.
I feel like the most creative challenge of this weekend has just been to create things that are unique and separate from each other, that all kind of have some kind of vague sense of commonality. I think one of the main things that was quite challenging was figuring out a kind of workflow pipeline from one piece of software to another and vice versa, and then having kind of the process of sending stems from one to the other and basically reconstituting said stems, doing stuff to said stems to the point where they're now more unique, completely different things, and then doing the same process all over again. To figure out how to do that in an efficient way was the hard part.
The most creative challenge of this weekend came down to the technology that I'm usually reliant on. So a week in advance, I thought it would be really clever if I reinstalled my software, so my Native Instruments suite, my recording, my DAW, Cubase. I thought fresh install, clear up some of the bugs that I've developed over time, and I foolishly thought that a week would be enough time to do that. So by the time Friday morning rolled around, that things were still patching, they were still installing. So what ended up happening is I had to rely on a set of instruments that I basically hadn't used before, which a lot of them were the default built-in Cubase instruments.
Yeah, it sounds a bit cleaner. It's just I'm worried that there's like a lot going on, because this is track number 1, remember? Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but like just have such a
Well, that's fair.
kind of feels like 2 super different sections.
It's because they are.
Yeah,
They
but
are
like
2
for
super
an
different
opening
sections.
track, that feels a bit.
In what way? How's it?
Well, like you could get away with something like that in the middle of an album or in the middle of an EP, like as a standalone. I don't wonder if it's a bit too different. Or do we swap it and put this one in the middle of the EP?
Should do.
So in addition to the time frame restraint, I had to use a set of digital equipment that I just wasn't familiar with. Luckily, we'd kind of decided that we wanted to record a lot of live instruments, guitar, piano, so that took a lot of the pressure off, but still, yeah, an added restraint I hadn't really intended or planned for. imperfections in music are fine. Well, not even fine. They make music feel more human. If something's actually being performed and recorded live, it doesn't matter if one of your notes is ever so slightly out of tune or ever so slightly off tempo, because that makes music feel like music. So if I'm going to take anything away from this weekend, it's to kind of embrace the imperfections in music and just not worry about re-recording something 1,000 times, because it's just not worth it. There's a perfect version of something that lives in my head that no one's ever going to hear. So yeah, I think I can live with imperfections now.
I have learned that I don't want to do this ever again. What I've actually learned is that there are some functions in Reason that I did not know about until I googled them, because they suddenly became necessary. And I also learned that Liam doesn't like having unnecessary effects placed on things, despite the fact that I think it sounds ambient and cool.
I left the reverb on, didn't I?
You left the reverb on, but you didn't let me keep the pulverizer thing on that made it sound.
I'm going to play it to you. It sounds wrong.
It's fine. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I'm not sure how to read the expression in your face, Gary.
No, it's good.
Is it good? Yeah, okay. It's fine with me. Have a celebratory club.
I might be. What is that? Just a crap ton of reverb?
Yeah. I'm basically just experimenting with reverbs at the moment because I want it to sound like, like, I'm getting a really Western vibe from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to see if I can kind of recreate that, like, distant guitar sound kind of thing. Alright.
It's good.
Yeah?
What's the rest of it?
That's still stuff I'm working on. But no, I was just really proud of that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, keep going that way.
Yay, I'll do that.
Did it work? I think so. I think it was a success. Obviously, it kind of comes down to people listening to the music, whether or not they like it. But I think mostly the fact that we were able to write 5 original pieces of music in basically 2.5 days, I think that's really cool. So it's definitely worked. We've definitely achieved our goal. And I'm sort of not really bothered if anyone actually hears it or likes it. The fact that we've done it is kind of enough. That said, it would be cool if people liked it.
I think overall it worked more than it didn't. And either way, it was an interesting exercise in time constraint based creativity. Which I think is something is always good as like a kind of, not like just a kick up the arse, but more sort of as I've got to do this thing. Let's see if I can do this thing. Kind of did this thing, but what did we learn from doing this thing? And ultimately, like, it's an experience that I'm glad I've had, but will not go out of my way to repeat unless there's a really, really good reason or a lot of money.
I think I'm definitely more positive because I honestly didn't think we would have anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we would have something. I just thought the thing would be shit.
Yeah. But actually listening back to it, like, having not touched it until a few hours ago and started listening, like, that it is actually good music.
Oh yeah, no.
There's some weird stuff in there that I think probably was a result of the time restraint, but like there is some good music in there, definitely.
Fair.
And even if it's not, it's going up on Spotify. So.
Yeah, no, that's again. I'm happy that we made the attempt in the first place because again, a thing got created.
I feel like that's it, to be honest.
So we can go ahead and cut these.
Nailed it.
That should just be the name of the album, Dickheads in the Garden. Thomas,
Yes.
are you allowed to speak when you're filming?
I'm sure I can. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
go nuts.
That's good.
Am I allowed to speak?
I mean, I want people to know you're here as well.
Yeah.
It's not just like two weirdos and a floating camera.